Hey guys, so this video is going to be a little bit different than what I normally post to my channel. This is going to be a story time video. Tika's trying to get in this already. So let me know if you guys are into these kinds of videos. Be sure to like it, give it a thumbs up if you guys enjoy it. I just think these kinds of videos are a little bit awkward because they generally involve people other than yourself. And if they see it, it's a little weird. So I was at the Toronto airport. I was in Toronto for a work thing and I just got off the plane. I was waiting for my driver at like the curbside. And so I was standing there and there's this guy who's also waiting for his driver. And I look over, I'm just like, this guy is really good looking. So we're both standing there and I just feel like there's like this awkward tension where we were both very aware of each other's presence and like we kind of made eye contact. I think we smiled, I can't really remember. But like I kind of wanted to say something. I remember I was standing there, I'm like, oh, like what could I say to this guy to start a conversation? And I almost felt like he was gonna say something, but then we stood there for like 3 minutes and nothing happened. It was just kind of like an awkward 3 minutes. So his driver gets there first and I'm like, dang it. But his driver gets out and he's like, hello, Mr. I'm not gonna use his real name, but I'll just say Smith. He's like, hello, Mr. Smith. I'm like, sick, I got his last name. And then he goes to give his bag to the driver and I realize it's like a pro team and his name is on it, like his first name. I'm like, what are the chances I got this guy's first and last name without even talking to him? So I'm like, he's sick. So he drives away. I immediately pull up my phone. I look him up on Instagram and find his account. It's verified, so I know it's him. So that happened and I didn't really think too much about it. Like I thought about it a couple times, but like didn't do anything about it. Went along with my trip. And that was that. And then I got home and I was out for dinner with a few of my girlfriends and I told them what had happened and they're like, why don't you message him on Instagram? And I was like, no. I'm like, he's not even gonna see my message. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna slide into this guy's DMs. But they're like, come on, like what have you got to lose? So I'm like, okay, fine. So I message him and I say, I was like, hey, this is kind of random, but we were both at the airport the other day and I just wanted to say hi. So I sent it. Didn't expect a response. Like 20 minutes later, he messages me back and is like something along the lines of like, this is crazy. He's like, I've thought about you multiple times since then. He's like, I regretted not saying something to you, blah, blah, blah. And like my initial reaction to that was like, oh my gosh, this guy is so smooth, like such a player. He's a pro athlete, so like not a huge surprise. So I responded back and I was like, haha, like I felt like he was like being sarcastic or something. So I kind of like responded something sarcastic back. And then he was like, no, like I'm not kidding. Like, can't remember. He's like, how did you find me? And then I'm just like, oh, this is embarrassing at this point. I'm like, oh, I heard your driver say your name. And then I saw your first name on your bag. He's like, oh, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. So we exchanged messages back and forth. And then he gave me his phone number and he was like, text me because fate. And like at this point, I'm still like pretty skeptical about the situation. But I was like, whatever, like don't really have anything to lose. So I ended up texting him and then we texted for a few months. I can't really remember how long it was. But we texted like pretty much every day, I think. And like I got to know him like pretty well and he was like such a down-to-earth guy. Like everything I found out about him was just like, he was just, I don't know, just like everything about him, like this guy is the perfect human being, just like nothing bad. So we keep talking and we had like kind of like talked about meeting up, but since he was playing his sport, I don't want to give like away too much information because I don't want you guys to know who this is. But he was traveling around with his team a lot and I was just like never in the same spot that he was. But then there was this one time where I was in a city really close to where he had like 5 days there. So we were like, okay, this is perfect. So I take, by the way, little disclaimer, I'm not trying to tell you guys to slide into DMs and meet up with people. I don't want any of you guys getting killed. This can be very dangerous, but the thing is like I had seen this guy in person. His account was verified. I knew it was him and we had like talked for a few months. So like it was a pretty legit situation. So yeah, I take a train from where I'm at and he picks me up from the train station. Oh, and also I was originally going to stay there for I think it was like 2 days. And then he ended up being like, oh, like why don't you stay till this date? So I ended up staying there for like 5 days and I was kind of like freaking out about it because we'd never hung out. And I'm like, what if we really don't get along? I even told that to him. I'm like, that's like a long time to hang out with someone that you've never hung out with before. Like this could go terribly wrong and just be like super awkward. So I go and picks me up from the train station. We went and got food, and then we went back to his place, and he was staying in an apartment with one of his other teammates. So while I was there, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessarily good. He was super busy. Every morning they had practice, and then they had a game, and then when we went out for food, it was usually with him and his roommate or like someone else from his team, and like we just never really had time alone. Also, just to clear up, if anyone's thinking that like this was like a booty call situation, this guy's like super respectful, very religious. Before I went there, we had already cleared up, like he let me sleep in his bed, and then he slept on the couch, but I felt really bad about, I remember I was like, oh no, I can sleep on the couch. He's like, haha, that's not happening. So yeah, that was not the situation. This guy's like a very solid guy. But yeah, we never had time alone. I just felt like nothing progressed. The last day, I went to go home, and I had to drop him and his roommate off at practice, and then I was gonna drive to the airport in the rental car that we had for the week, and I was like gonna return the rental car there. So, oh my gosh, the flight back home was terrible. So I had to return the car by a certain time. I think it was like 11 or something. So I go to return it, I'm at the airport, and my flight wasn't till like 6 or something. I just remember it was an evening flight. So I had like a lot of hours to kill at the airport, and then my flight kept getting delayed. Got delayed so much that I was going to miss my connecting flight, which was the last flight of the night. So I couldn't get home till the next day. So they're like, okay, sorry, we're gonna have to put you in this really crappy motel thing. It was so depressing. I just had like hung out at the airport the entire day, like not in the best mood, because I kind of felt like after this, me and this guy probably weren't gonna be talking anymore. So I have to stay in this super crappy motel. I remember the bathtub, how to explain this? The bathtub was so messed up that when you stood in it, it was like bubbly, like the material was like lifting up. I don't even know. It was like, it was just terrible. Just like, it was like really old. I don't know. It was just like a very depressing place to be when I already wasn't in a good mood, and I was so sad that I couldn't just go home. So I get home the next day, and he had like texted me to like make sure I got home okay. And I think like I was just like straight up like, oh, like are we even gonna see each other again or something? And then we like talked, and he was pretty much like, oh, I just realized I don't have time for you, which obviously sucks to hear, but I kind of already knew that's what the situation was. I'm so glad I don't have these text messages on my phone anymore, because they're probably so cringeworthy. I just feel like in the moment I'm just like very emotional about the situation, and I probably worded things badly, but we just kind of concluded that like we weren't gonna meet up again. I remember I was like bummed about it for a while. I think we like texted once or twice after, and then like recently, like a month ago, he like Snapchatted me. So yeah, nothing serious ended up coming out of that situation. That's just my random story of my fling with a pro athlete, if any of you guys are interested in that. This is one of many relationship fails that I have. I should just have a relationship fail series, literally. Still have so much respect for this guy. He's a very solid dude, and whoever ends up with him is a very lucky girl. But looking back on it now, I honestly don't think anything serious would have ever happened, even if we did continue talking. Our personalities, I think, just weren't that compatible. I don't know. Super nice guy, just wasn't in the cards for us. So that is my story. Let me know what you think. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you guys want more story time videos. And I hope he never watches this video. I'll see you guys later. Bye.